Well, welcome back.
Welcome back. You came back for round 3.
You're here, you're family. It's Olive Garden up in here. I'm Mariah.
I'm Kelsey.
And this is Daisy.
Yes.
And the three of us have a theater company called Mischief Story House.
And we wrote an original musical play production called Immaneul, A Christmas Story last year, 2023.
And we're telling the story of start to finish, how we put it on.
The monsters that we overcame.
Which were many.
Many monsters.
Up to this point, we've written it, we're producing it, we've rehearsed it. And now the part of the story we're in is Tech Week.
Which the theater goers among us probably have a general idea of what this entails. This is the time where we're working out all of the technical kinks and we're finally in the venue space. So this was a big deal for us because this was kind of, the rehearsal process felt very familiar. We'd both been in drama school. We'd done rehearsals before. This was now go time of we're in a space that we don't know, working with staff that are like, tell us what to do, and we have to tell them what to do.
So I've ran lights before. I've never designed a show or lit a show myself, so we did that. We had a bunch of musical cues to do in between scenes that I had to put into a software I had never used before and run it for the whole show. We had an amazing friend named Sharon Yost who put together she went and found all of these music cues that were royalty-free music.
Wizard.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So our sound had such a good ambiance and flow. And then we also were working with Broadway mics that we had shipped to us from a company. That was great. But we get into the space and we've got to do our mic check with all these people. And that is kind of our first everything is falling apart moment because we have a cast of and at any given point, we could have up to about 7 speaking parts on stage. And the way that the theater that we're in is set up, the stage is kind of a round stage, and then above it is the lighting and the mic or the speakers. And so we're getting so much feedback from all of the actors that are walking around. They'll walk to a certain part, and that noise in and of itself is just so jarring.
Horrible.
But we're experiencing that what should have taken
hours.
Yeah, is taking us 3 days.
And we didn't know so much.
No, we did not know so much.
We didn't know so much. We had so many gaps of knowledge. And so to the best of our ability, we scheduled tech, but also to our budget because we had to rent these mics. It's a huge investment up front. We don't know what we're doing. And so when mics take 3 days to tech, we had allotted 1 day. It threw off everything else. The set design, you were hanging fabric from the ceiling at random times. There was just so much that got affected by that.
And just every day it got better, but it was still not working. And I kind of was like, is this going to even happen? Are we going to get to put on a show? Because our mics are not working. Not because the mics aren't working, but because the stage setup with the mics and where the speakers are is creating so much feedback, and it's coming out of the blue. Someone's in a song, and then it's that horrible mic feedback screech. And I'm like, I can't charge people to come to a show where there's going to be multiple times of screeching happening.
Discomfort.
And so I turned to our sound guy. Nick, and our hero. And I was like, do you think that you can do this? Do you think that you can fix the feedback? Be honest with me if you don't. I have resources for you. It's not all on you. We can get somebody. But if you think you can do it, I think you can do it. And he was like, I think I can do it. And so that was the moment where I just took my hands off of control and let him do it. And I think that was a really fun moment for both of us because in those moments I would be like, what's going on? What's wrong? I want to know what's happening so that I can have some semblance of a feeling of control in these moments.
Fix it.
But I don't know anything about mics. I couldn't fix it. And when I just was like, I believe in you. I think that you can do this. If you're being honest with me and you think you can do it, take control. If you don't think you can do it or at any point feel like it's not going to happen, please just let me know. And his wife told me he went home and was staying up to the wee hours of the morning looking at YouTube videos and researching how to make this work. And
amazing.
By our last day of tech, we had like maybe 2 moments of feedback in the whole show. And I was like, okay, if it's getting better every day, then by our opening night, it should be totally better.
Because again, this tech week is not happening a week before the show. This is happening the Monday before we open on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So we are cruising. Time is running out and we don't have buffer to extend in any direction. So the fact that you were able to hands off the wheel and Nick, again, hero, invested so much time on his own.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, the pressure's on. I'm able to be not pressured with you because I feel the buffer of time.
Right.
It was such a mature and challenging position you had to take, which is, I feel so much stress, but I'm not going to put it on you.
Right.
And that resulted in such an amazing, like, I still think about that and like feel the gratitude. Like, oh my gosh, he invested so much. You guys worked together so well. Crazy.
It was great. Well, and then we had, we lit the show. The show's beautiful, but we get in there and we're moving around and there were some bulbs out in the lights that we didn't know about. And so we get in there and there's dark spots on stage. And so how we had blocked it, now people are just standing in the dark singing a song. And I'm like, this is not going to work. So we had to completely reblock several scenes in the middle of feedback from the mics, in the middle of I'm trying to like hang fabric and make this whole thing work. And it was just so much. And
it was so much on Mariah. Now, I am playing Mary.
Yeah.
And so I have my own actory things, my own insecurities of I've written myself a role. How does that look to people? And then also, what if I don't do a good job? What if everyone's disappointed in Mary's performance? And so my stakes are internally very high. And I also feel a huge sense of like, I wish I could help more, but I don't have capacity to. And that was new for me because I'm similar to you in that when I'm stressed, I just produce and make things happen and then I crash later. But being in the show and then other things going on in my life, I felt so tapped already. And so I'm watching you handle this amazing like breakthrough moment with sound and reblock all of these scenes and hang up curtains because we had all of these ideas for the cast will go here, but then can the cast go there? We don't know. Yeah, it's all kind of falling apart at the edges and me feeling so helpless. There's video footage of me having a little meltdown and being like, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry. Well, there was one night where I just had to make a call because it's like, we need more time. We're just going to have to pay for more time. So I went to every cast member and I said, is it all right with you if we go an hour longer? And I asked all of our staff. They all said yes. And then I came up to you and I said, we're going an hour longer. And you're like, I don't think people are okay with that. And like, I've already asked everybody and they're all okay with it. So we're going to go an hour longer. We need this hour. And then you were like, my blood sugar. And then like, with the moment we have on camera is you're like, gotta bring it out. And they're like, sorry, my blood sugar is crashing. I can't. I really had to tweet someone that was like, here's a protein bar. And then you were like, okay,
I'm just slamming this protein bar, having a nervous breakdown. And that kind of rumble of, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I'm letting Mariah down was something that I didn't have language for, but it was affecting so much. And so the opening night of the show, Mariah comes backstage and I'm lying on the ground
in dust by a dustpan. And I was like, okay, I know you're going through something, but do you mind just getting out of the dust?
She was so kind. And I was having such a shame spiral of like, again, I wouldn't have been able to put words to it, but the feeling of like, I'm letting everyone down, so I should just curl up and die. I think what was so great in this time, though, in the face of all of these obstacles that we didn't have the resources to handle, we didn't know what we were doing, it all felt too much. The last dress rehearsal before opening night was the worst rehearsal we had the whole 6-week process.
And a professional videographer came to record it for us for free.
There's evidence. It's out there.
I was like, I am humiliated. The theater is empty. There's only 10 people here in the moment with our videographer because people broke on which I love breaking.
And that like laughing, getting out of character.
I think it's fun. But I was like, we're recording this. And it was because somebody had forgotten their prop. And so they just grabbed an apple. It was one of the wise men, probably my husband, actually.
It really was.
And he brings down an apple and lays it at the Mary and Joseph's feet instead of his prop.
Gift of gold or whatever it was.
And then the wise men keep breaking and laughing.
I'm breaking.
You're the easiest person to break.
I break so easily.
And then there was Your Most Beautiful Song. Your mic was off for you had like turned it off or disconnected it or something.
It was troubleshooting.
You can hear it and you can hear your voice because you have quite a powerful voice. So I was like, actually, she doesn't need to be mic'd. I guess
everything's gonna be okay.
It'll be all right. Then there was actually like quite a lot of feedback in that. Randomly, we had like gotten all our feedback problems worked out, but this dress rehearsal there was feedback. There was so many people that like forgot their lines, didn't come out on stage when they were supposed. Oh, we had somebody that like didn't even come out on stage for their whole scene, and I was like, okay. So really sorry
before we opened
to everybody who's bought tickets for the show because this is going to be terrible and that is all my fault.
And also we had sold not that many tickets.
Yeah, that first night, I don't even think we had 100 tickets sold for the show. Maybe we had 100, which I was like, okay, whatever. If we have 100 people for our first show, that's half capacity. That would be okay. But then the day of, you were right. People in this town love a last minute ticket buy, which if you're listening to this and going to come to our show, please just buy tickets now so that I can relax during this part.
But if you can't, I'll stay relaxed.
Yes.
I trust you.
If you have it in your means to buy tickets early, it just is so nice to us.
It's going to help our partnership so much.
But it just was terrible. And we did hear that a terrible dress rehearsal is a good omen for a good show. But
that's what they say.
Man, oh man.
Doesn't feel that way.
It doesn't feel that way. But we got through it. And then we get to opening night. I thought that I was going to lose my cookies. I was shaking in the back. I'm having to help. I'm cueing the lights. I'm cueing the mics. And I'm doing our sound cues. And I was just trembling back there. And I feeling like I was going to throw up. Like, also, I don't have the luxury of being in the cast where I can go off. Like, I can't run from this if this is terrible.
Right.
And
it's a train that is moving, and you have to watch it.
If it crashes, I will just be watching, and
all its glory.
Close my eyes. I have to keep them open. I have to keep cussing the sound cues. And then I was like, what if I screw up the sound cues and it's all my fault? And then the show's terrible. It was just, but it went off without a hitch.
Miraculously.
It was perfect.
Genuinely miracle.
It was status. So good. And then it was good the next night. And then it was good for our matinee. And then it was good the last night. And we got standing ovations and tears.
People weeping.
Saying that the comedic parts we had written were some of their favorites. It was just the feedback we got. People stayed. We've done a lot of theater and gone to a lot of theater. Typically, even shows I've been in where my friends are there and I want to say
here, yeah.
Like I jump out of my costume as quick as possible and then I try and go say goodbye to them. By the time I do, most people are out of the theater. It's not like a thing people stick around for. People stayed for an hour after our show to talk about it with us.
With each other.
With other.
Yes.
Like I would walk by people that I didn't know and they were just, I just feel so moved by this part. And wasn't that just so funny? And so we were really blown away. We were like,
totally blown away.
This is magical.
Yeah. And so we made it. It happened. We also had all sorts of interpersonal things happening in the midst of these external pressures. So as it often happens, the external pressure is one thing, the internal pressure is another.
Right.
We produced an original work. in 6 months from no script to a show. That's costly. I didn't expect to pay the cost emotionally that I paid. And I think it would be very interesting, perhaps have a little bit more in us for another episode, perhaps, to pull back the curtain, to turn the lights on some of those internal pressures that almost took me out.
Because we both have pretty strong values of doing conflict well, working through in community, wrestling that we have inside, taking ownership of our side, even though that feels really hard, and also sharing really openly how we are affected by things. And that is so hard to do when you have already just been sucked dry from this experience. Also filled up. It's the most, I walked away from that feeling like I can do anything.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want.
It was hugely empowering
in my life.
Yes.
I have it in me. But it also was quite costly. And I think we did such a good job cleaning up any misunderstandings we had, any places where we felt hurt by one another, we felt misunderstood by each other. And so I think we should get into them next episode.
Spill the tea.
Spill the tea.